children and teachers. Someone I met first in a training program that I attended, not conducted, where we learned something called neuro-linguistic programming together. And it was a delight meeting with him because Mohan Varghese spoke about how he wants to do good for society, while most of the other people over there had come to learn NLP only with the purpose of how they could use NLP to kind of monetize, right? And in that group of around 65 people, there were 2 or 3 people I bonded with. One of them was Mohan Varghese. And he's been doing great work with teachers. And he's going to speak about the ability to learn from nature. Mohan Varghese.
Indeed, an honor and privilege to be here speaking to all of you. I'm reminded of the words of President Lyndon Johnson of the United States, the former president. He said, if I have to speak for 2 hours, I need to prepare for 10 minutes. But if I have to speak for 10 minutes, I need to prepare for a day or 2. So the challenge for me is to speak for 10 minutes. 9 minutes to be precise. And when I see Jerry, I am reminded of the story of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. 8 minutes, Jerry remains as Dr. Jekyll, and all of a sudden the whistle comes out, and the Mr. Hyde is out. So, talking about the abilities to learn from nature, I'm going to link some of the observations that I've seen in nature around. When I say nature, it's not just the flowers and the trees, but life in general, and link it to my experience from the corporate world, mostly. So I remember on the first day, Rashmi spoke about the wisdom from the tree. So I'm going to continue on that. When you see trees, clumps of trees, say in a forest, the same kinds of trees, would you notice any trees which are, say, double the height of the other trees? Would you? Double the height. It's very rare that in a species of the same kind, so if a eucalyptus tree is, say, 100 feet, the differences could be, say, 20 feet, 30 feet. But it's very rare that something would go out and be 200 or 300 feet. Because of the soil. But in the same place, the point I'm wanting to bring out is that if you see those exceptions, now there could be 2 things you can observe. Either they may be very weak, or they could be very strong. If they're strong, they will survive. But usually, if you find a tree where the stem is weak, where the roots are weak, in the corporate world, you often find people who want to build their careers. And they want to go up the ladder really fast. They wish to be at the top, but they don't want to work hard and build the skills required to reach up there. And you find it difficult to stay up there. You rise a level or 2 really fast, and then you find it difficult to stay up there. Because, like the weak stem of that extra tall tree, you get exposed. The first gust of wind that comes, it hits the tree, and it finds it difficult to stay there. And that's what I find when I work with the youth. This desire to work hard is sadly lacking. People are wanting change. People want to change jobs every 6 months, every year. But they don't want to work and build the skill sets required to move up the ladder, to move up the corporate world, to move up in their careers. So when I met people like Mr. Matthews here, he has worked for 38 years in the same organization. So these are like rarities now. So that is the first point that I wanted to bring about. For the second one, I've got something here which we all use in our daily lives, which is a fork and a spoon. Now, I'm going to link this to how recruitment happens in the corporate world. Now, imagine I got water here for lack of time. I'm not going to do the whole thing. But imagine I've got water here, and I got to pick out. So I pick out water with a spoon. and I pour it on this fork, what do you think would happen? Most of the water would just go through. Now, if I had to do it the other way around, is that easy? You won't be able to catch it. Will I catch a few drops? Yes? Yes. So what was easy? What was easy? The first time, the first way, or the second way? The first way. And recruiting in the corporate world often happens like this. The easy way. Which means, get people like this, put them into the system, and you do nothing to hold them. So what of hire and fire which happens today, and a lot of it is a result of this, because we find the easy way out. We just pick people. In fact, a lot of organizations, they seem to have this invisible board around which says, trespassers shall be recruited. So if you pass by, you are in danger of getting recruited into the company. And that's literally how it goes. So then once people come in, they just fall through. So either they're told you're not good enough, or they find better opportunities, and they keep moving on. What do you think is going to happen? There's so much of a downward spiral that's happening across many industries. And the reason is this. In fact, the way I'd put it is, if you don't recruit well, then you would hit the rec route, which is WRECKROUTE, rec route. That's really what's going to happen to a lot of organizations, just because of the way they approach recruiting. Okay? We've been talking about energies. So I'm a student of chemistry. I've done my post-graduation in chemistry. But for me, chemistry is now, if I can pun on it, is a key mystery. But some of the things that I remember is about atoms having their orbitals, the various orbitals. And we talk of energy. So when a reaction has to happen, you need energy to move the electron from the lower orbital to the higher orbital. Now here we are talking of working together. We actually need to do the same thing, to push that energy from the lower orbital to the higher orbital. If we exist at our base levels, we are not going to achieve much. But if we need to make something happen, we have to move out of our comfort zones and move to the next level, bring in our energies together, and that's what's going to take us forward. So I've got one more idea that I want to share with you, where I would need the help of Abba, if you could come across. Just put your hands out. Just push a bit. Now you see, what am I doing here? We are just putting pressure, a little bit of pressure at each other. And now, if I ask her, just change the orientation a little bit where the fingers go through. And now we do this pressure a little bit, and we end up clasping our hands. Okay? So we end up clasping our hands, and now do you feel pressure? Now it's a positive pressure. Now it's not that I'm pushing against you, but now positive pressure that comes together. Yeah. It's got transmitted. It's got transmitted. Now, when we think of relationships, when we think of even something like selling, what we actually have to do is just this. In sales, I say, people have the products. There are others who have the solutions. or even in relations, there are different sets of ideas. But if you want these ideas to come together, it is just a slight change in orientation that's required for success. Many a times, the difference between success and failure is just this small step. So if you keep pressing like this, you don't make any headway. But the moment you just change the orientation just that little bit, you end up being together, working together, getting the energies together.
I think it is from energy to synergy.
From energy to synergy. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Mohan. That was brilliant. I saw that you got the interaction going even before we opened the floor for interaction. So we'll cut away the time for your interaction now. So, okay. All right. So any questions for Mohan?
See, I think we all have to make them, what I will say, I'll say a very unusual word. We have to make them nanga and transparent and accountable. Unless that happens, this country will not progress. I'll give you one small example. In 1963, I was sitting next to a very tall fellow. And I said, "ये interview के लिए आए हैं ना आप?" तो he said, "हाँ, मैं भी interview के लिए आया." तो मैंने कहा, "आपके पास कोई सिफारिश है?" So he said, "हाँ." So he showed me a letter from Indira Gandhi addressed to the chairman of that company. So I said, फिर मैं चलता हूँ, मैं कहीं और नौकरी ढूंढता हूँ. And that person, incidentally, today is known as Big B.
Mohanji, I appreciate what you say actually, but it is not only limited to the corporate world, because I was working with international organizations, then I moved to corporate world. In international organizations also you see this kind of thing, people actually getting recruited and they leave, and it is also because I think that one point is there that maybe at the center of power, because if you look at international organizations, they don't want to have also excellent people working for them, because I think unconsciously they are also afraid that if they employ bright people, if they employ people with great ideas, they might unsettle them and they might move to their positions. So that's what I have to say to you.
That's so very true. In fact, David Ogilvy, the advertising guru, he once said, when you're recruiting, you need to look at getting in giants, building an army of giants rather than a team of pygmies. So a lot of people are afraid, they're insecure, that if I get in somebody really good and he gets to be better than me, he will jump over me. So instead, they look for people who are half as good as them so that they can always exercise that control. There was that fire in the morning. We have a lot of firefighters around in the world who don't want processes and systems to be in place. Because the moment processes and systems come into play, then where is the fire? Where is the room for showing off your skills as a firefighter?
And that is the truth of a lot of organizations. So well put, Mohan, because I like what Soikat said. And Soikat, if you look around organizations, especially in the NGO sector, all the NGOs are less than average. Most, especially the INGOs. You and I know it, right? And I remember a lot of times when I used to ask people in Action Aid, you call yourself an activist outside, but inside you can't even raise your voice against what your boss is doing wrong. And I would be told, Jerry, it's very easy for you to say that because you will go out and get a job or do whatever you can in the corporate sector. But it's very difficult for us. And then I would say, why you call yourself an activist? So just say you're doing a job, no? Because where is the fire? And that's exactly what it is. So it's that. But there are a lot of corporates also which are nothing but average. Because they are very scared about bringing in those maverick people who'll ask questions and challenge status quo. And then you create an organization called average. And that's exactly what has happened with government, corporate, media, and NGOs, unfortunately. Okay, Mohanji, thank you so much. May we have Mr. Hunar Bra to give away the certificate to Mr. Mohan Varghese.